What's good, everybody? It's your man Big Dom coming live at you with another True Players podcast episode, hitting you with the in-your-face, unedited, straight, blunt talk about sports, finances, relationships, current events, and many other topics along the way. Check out my next episode. What's good, everybody? It's your man Big Dom coming live naturally with another True Players podcast episode tonight, Thursday night. I know I'm a little bit late with the recap of last week's games, but I'm here now. But I won't be on for too long. You know, people got things to take care of. You know what I'm saying? But I had to hit you guys up with another episode, recapping the New York Giants and Jets games as we head into the final week of the NFL football season this coming weekend. But first and foremost, let's talk about the Thursday night game between the Jets and the Cleveland Browns that we saw. Joe Flacco gets his revenge against the New York Jets. Apparently, when Aaron Rodgers went down with the injury, Joe Douglas didn't want to sign Joe Flacco for whatever reason. I honestly don't understand the reason behind it. But, Flacco came into this game fired up and ready to do big things in this game, and he sure did. He threw for 19 of 29 for 309 yards and 3 TDs and an interception. I think this is his fourth or fifth game with 300 yards. And he's the fourth starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So think about that for a second there. Think about that for a second. Both of these teams have started 4 different quarterbacks. One team is going to the playoffs and one team is going home. So the question to everyone is, who's to blame for that? Is it coaching? Is it general managing? Is it the ownership, or is it all the above? We saw quite clear with a not so great offensive line over there in Cleveland, with a non-mobile quarterback, we're able to get things done. We're able to throw the football for 300 yards and get 3 passing touchdowns, and all without Amari Cooper. Let me tell you something, guys. I betted on this game in which I betted on DraftKings. I was like, listen, the Cleveland Browns is not going to score more than not more than 33 points in this game. I lost that bet in the second quarter. That's how bad it was. All without Amari Cooper. Once again, I'm going to say that again. Without Amari Cooper. Trevor Siemian was pedestrian, 32 of 45. 261 yards, a TD, and an interception. But you got to give it up to the breecehall, who still continues to do his thing. 13 carries, 84 yards, 9 receptions, 42 yards. Garrett-Wilson, once again, in his first 3 years in the NFL, has 1,000 yards receiving yards. He contributed with 5 catches for 50 yards. Tyler Conklin contributed with 45 catches for 45 yards. A lot of penalties. I'm going to say a lot of penalties, but penalties off the so-called elite left tackle that we have there, over there, Mekhi Becton. And to be honest with you guys, I try to have this guy's back. But over the past 3 or 4 weeks, I'm losing that battle there. I really am. There's nothing to defend about this guy. I don't think he gets it. This is his contract year. You should be showing out and playing hard, playing well for the next contract. And I hate to say this, he's probably going to go to another team and really realize his potential, his talent. While the Jets have to go back into the draft and select another offensive tackle, select a more offensive lineman, instead of taking care of the issue at hand, which is after Aaron Rodgers retires, there is no quarterback in that room to run the Jets. And that should be the focus this season. Now, there's been rumblings that when that faded draft. I call it the Trevor Lawrence draft. That's what it was all about, really. There was a story that's circling in which Joe Douglas had wanted to draft the offensive lineman with the second pick, in which he was overruled by ownership. Now, if you hire me to become a general manager of your team, okay, before I sign the dotted line on being your general manager, we must understand between ownership and GM. I understand you are my employer, but you hire me for my expertise at the said subject. I would like to have full autonomy in the players that I draft, the players that I selected, and the coaches that I select. Of course, you'll be brought into the fold of who I choose, but by same token, let me be the final call. Let me make that final call because that's my expertise. If that's the case, you know what I'm saying? If that was the case, me personally, I would if Woody had done that to me, I'd have been like, you know what, I'm resigning right at the draft. I'm resigning. Let me do what's best for the team, not for your buddies over there in Utah. Again, you draft this quarterback, you set back the franchise another 5 years. So many blunders with this team. As you know, guys, Dalvin Cook has been released from the Jets and has signed with the Baltimore Ravens. I believe they did him good by allowing him to go to a playoff team so he could be on the playoff roster. I think they did him well. They did him good. However, I thought he was never a fit on this team. In my opinion, he should have never been the running back that they have signed to back up Breecehall. I felt the guy they should have signed plays for the Patriots, which is Ezekiel Elliott. I thought that was the guy that they should have signed. That fit better with what they were trying to do with that offensive line, in my opinion. They're going to see Ezekiel Elliott this weekend. Tell you that much. So, in this game, if Zach Wilson was going to play, was a game that if he had beaten the Patriots, he may have gotten an olive branch to stay on this team for next season. But unfortunately, due to the concussion, he is not going to be playing in this game. And quite frankly, that game, which he had a concussion against the Miami Dolphins, thanks to Mekhi Becton, inability to block Bradley Chubb, could be his last game as the Jet. I believe 95% of the chance that it is his last chance with the Jets. So let's preview the Jets and Patriots. What's at stake here for the Jets and the Patriots? The Jets haven't beaten this team since, I believe, 2015. With when they had Fitzmagic and Decker and Brandon Marshall on the team. I believe that was 2015. That was the last time they beaten the Patriots in the regular season, or at all. A lot of fans out there say, "Listen, let's tank so we get the top 5 pick. Let's tank." No. This is an opportunity to beat the Patriots and send Bill Belichick on his way, which this game could possibly be his last game coaching the Patriots. I don't think he's going to stop coaching, but I believe thoroughly this is his last game as a Patriot head coach. And I do believe, when he takes another job, I think he's going to go to San Diego. I'm sorry, he's going to the Chargers. You heard it from the True Players podcast first. He's going to go to the Chargers. He has everything he needs over there. He has the quarterback, and he has the defense. He's going there. Mark my words. Mark my words, guys. He's going there. So the Jets need to just beat this team. End the season again at 7-11, like they did last season. The owner, basically just said that these guys are coming back. Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh's coming back. Joe Douglas is coming back as lame duck GM. How can you allow a lame duck GM be able to draft the players for this coming draft for this team. It's either you extend them or you fire him. You can't let him go into a season with lame duck status. You can't. It makes no sense. It really does not make any sense to do that. But this is the Jets. Jet fans, this is our team. And we just got to deal with it for now. Okay? Until only God can give us the grace of having Uncle Steve Cohen buy this team too. So we get some respectability and our Jet team back on New York soil, playing at Citi Field. Wouldn't that be the dream? Wouldn't that be the dream of all Jet fans? Where you don't have to drive all the way to New Jersey to watch your New York Jets play. They can be right there in Queens. But I digress, guys. I'm going to recap the Giants game. I was supposed to have a special guest host with me today, but we're going to catch up with him next week. We were supposed to talk about Mets hot stove, Mets offseason, the Mets prelude to spring training, pitches and catches in February. But he'll join us next week as we get to the pickups, the players they missed out on. We're gonna get into all that next week. I will announce this episode next week. So, well, this coming weekend, definitely once we finalize everything. All right, guys. Now let's talk about the New York Giants, which played a hell of a game against the Rams. It was a very good game. I like that game. Giants showed a lot of mettle. I'm telling you that much. They showed a lot of mettle. They did fall to 5-12, I believe. No, 5-11. They showed a lot of mettle. Lost because both field goal kickers couldn't make their extra points or field goals during that game. It was pretty windy out there. It was pretty windy out there in MetLife Stadium. You know what I'm saying? They lost 26-25. Mason Crosby, the former Green Bay Packer kicker, missed a 50-yard, a little bit over 50-yard field goal at the end of regulation. The Rams eked out a win and also punched themselves into the playoffs. Well, let's talk about the stats of the game. Tyrodtaylor, 27-41, 319 yards, a TD and an interception. He also ran for 40 yards on 6 carries. Saquonbarkley with 12 carries, 39 yards. 3 receptions, 19 yards. Darius Slayton had a good game, 4 catches, 106 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson was all over the place. 6 receptions, 55 yards, whether it was running the ball or catching, make some big catches. Darren Waller, he returned. He had 5 catches for 51 yards. But Matthew Stafford had a great game, 24-34, 317 yards. He did throw some picks, though. The Giants had some turnovers in that game. And but Kyron Williams had a big game, 20 catches for 87 yards. You know, it was very, 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 a very entertaining game between both teams. Unfortunately, the Giants had to lose, unfortunately. But the Giants know exactly what they have to do in the offseason to get this team back into the playoffs like they were in 2022. Shore up the offensive linemen, get Daniel Jones back. I think they need to draft another receiver. They got Darren Waller there. Keep him healthy. They need to sign another receiver to go with Slayton and Robinson. Shepard has been disappointing this season. He could be a casualty. He could get cut in the offseason. He has not played up to his standard. And I definitely don't see the Giants keeping him after this season. If Sean and Daboll have their thoughts, probably will cut him. But let's get into the preview of the Giants and Eagles. The Eagles, they're fighting for a division. I doubt they're going to sit out Jalen Hurts. They're playing for the division. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys are the NFC East leaders. If the Cowboys win, they win the East and then number 3 seed. So the Philadelphia has not to play for this game, and I expect a very competitive game. Because to be quite honest with you, Giants should have beat them the last time they played, which is I think 2 weeks ago. Should have beaten that team. So we'll see what happens, guys. Because we'll see what happens. But I'm anxious to see Sam Darnold start for the 49ers this week. The 49ers already clinched the number 1 seed in the NFC. I'm anxious to see how Sam Darnold plays. I may be inclined to watch that game. I'm going to try to watch that game, whether through NFL Network or something like that. Try to watch that game in full to provide you guys some feedback and recap on that game. I'm also anxious to see how Geno Smith plays next week. The playoff seeding is on the line. Playoff spot is on the line for Geno Smith. Can he lead the Seattle Seahawks for a second consecutive playoff run? That's what we need to find out. I'm anxious. I want to see what those games look like. All right. So, like I said, guys, I wasn't going to keep you guys on for too long. It was going to be a short and sweet podcast today. Short and sweet. Not too long. Because it wasn't the exact episode I wanted to provide you guys this week. I had to provide you guys an episode of recapping the weeks of football. I'm surprised there's no Thursday night game right now, which I could talk about. But let me talk about before I let you guys go. I'm gonna talk about the Knicks. OG Anunoby. I've seen 2 games with him. He just fits right in with what Thibodeau wants to do with the team. I said some things with Matthew the last podcast, and I'm not going to change my tune. I back up everything what I said about how the media and the fans drove the trade of RJ Barrett and IQ out of this team. The fans did not like RJ at all. Let's be New York Knicks fans. Be honest with yourself and say you just didn't like the kid. All right, don't complain that he didn't. That they gave him 5 years to develop. It's hard, like I said on that podcast. It's hard to develop your game when you are surrounded by 2 players who are extreme ball dominant basketball players. You're forced to be efficient. This is where OG fits that key. He fits that puzzle because he can be more efficient than RJ Barrett. Yes. You know what I'm saying? But the bench, albeit the Knicks are 2-0 with OG Anunoby. The bench is suffering without the play of Quickly. They may have to do another move to fill that hole that was left by Quickly. That 14.2 points coming off the bench. Now IQ gets what he wants. He's starting in Toronto. RJ Barrett is back home. You know what I'm saying? I'm anxious to see that game when the Knicks play the Raptors in later this month. I'm anxious to see that. I think the Knicks better beat the Raptors. They better. But I'm anxious to see how the players that we once had, we traded away, and see how they do against the team. With their new team. The Raptors are playing well since those two guys arrived on the scene also, so they could elevate the Raptors into a playoff contention this season. Albeit maybe they could let me tell you something. If IQ and RJ can lead this Raptors team to a 6 seed, I would not be surprised. They got Siakam already there. They got Scotty Barnes there. They got some talent over there. But they wish they had Fred Van Vliet on that team right now? Don't they wish they have him on the team right now? Got some talent. But I digress, guys. I'm going to sign off on this podcast. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube. Watch it on YouTube, Patreon. You can listen to it on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeart Radio, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and any other providers of audio broadcasting. I am on that engine. All right? So it's your man, Big Dom. Sign off on this podcast. I'll see y'all next week with another episode. Peace.